I'm Barry Morgan with InvestmentPitch Media. I have with me today here in Vancouver, David Morgan of the Morgan Report. Welcome, David.
Very great to be with you.
Could you tell us a little bit of background and how you got into writing the Morgan Report?
Sure, Barry. I've been a kind of a nut about money for most of my life. I was just fascinated by how money worked from an early age. And so I discovered, what fractional reserve banking was all about by the time I was probably a teenager. And I kept that kind of passion about finance, money, how markets work, and I got in the stock market when I was 16. So I became kind of a newsletter junkie, you might say, at an early age, and I started really understanding markets more and more by some of my, what I call mentors. And I got interested in the precious metals because what was going on in the 1970s and really the 60s when the coinage changed when I was 11 years old. So by the early 70s, I was pretty hooked into why the gold story, why the silver story, and that kind of thing. So I had subscribed to several newsletters, and then when this next bull market started, I was doing a little consulting on the side, working in the financial field, and I decided, I really wanted to start my own report. So I started the Silver Investor website. It actually had a different domain when I initially started. I got that domain. I moved from California to Washington State, and I started the Morgan Report. Initially, it was called the Silver Investor. But since I really look at the resource sector as a whole and do a lot more than just look at the silver market, although I'm known as one of the experts in that field, I broadened it to the Morgan Report so subscribers had opportunities throughout the board. We've looked at lithium, copper, molybdenum, gold and silver, of course, which we comment on almost every month. We've had oil companies, we've had drilling companies, we've got this new mobile mill project that we're reporting on. So we look at the sector across the board, and that's why I think it's better to actually rebrand the Morgan Report as kind of a resource or financial newsletter rather than just a silver report.
Sounds like that makes sense. Where could our viewers subscribe to your newsletter?
It's an internet-based service. I used to have a hard copy letter as well as an internet-based newsletter, but we've gone just to the internet. It's more efficient, and almost everybody now has internet service. So just go to themorganreport.com, and the site has been simplified a great deal. I'm a little on the pushy side now, and it's efficiency. It's like, you can get some free information on the blog, but basically buy the report, get a consultation, buy the book, or maybe you're on the wrong website. And that sounds a little, pushy maybe, I don't know how it sounds, but I think it's really more of an advantage to the public at large that's looking for something or not. I mean, they can be on the website and they know what to do or not to do.
David, I understand you just published a new book on the silver. Could you tell us a little bit about that book and, again, where our viewers could get a hold of that?
Sure, Barry. This is the book. It's called the Silver Manifesto.
That looks like a good bedtime read by the size of that.
It's pretty thick. And it's been 9 months of work. My co-author, Chris Marchese, did some of the preliminary work. Of course, I edited, rewrote it, and wrote part of it. But we went into basically every aspect of the silver market. And really, it's an economics course as much as it is a silver treatise.
So this is the go-to book on silver.
Well, according to Mike Maloney, who's pretty well respected with the goldsilver.com website, he said it was probably the best book on silver that's been published in a long time. So I'll use Mike, and we are friends. He's biased, but a lot of work, 9 months, several edits, and this is our ability to give the history of silver as a monetary metal through the Chinese and all the way through to modern times, why the United States was founded on a silver standard, not on a gold standard.
As everybody thinks, yes.
Yeah, why bimetallism is better than a gold-only standard. We go into fractional reserve banking, then we go into bullion banking, and then we go into the silver manipulation story. And we have several ways that we prove, in quotation marks, manipulation. One is the Sharpe's ratio. Sharpe's ratio talks about the ability to fraud people. If you look at the Sharpe's ratio, I'm doing this from memory, even though I wrote the book.
Yeah.
I think Bernie Madoff was something like 79 or something like that. And the Sharpe's ratio for overnight trading in the London market, something like 135.
Wow.
So it's really up there. And these type of numbers are impossible on a random market or a free market. So that's an aspect. And then at the end, I wrote a chapter called Beyond Silver, because being a heartfelt man, which most people that know me, the philosophical side, I didn't take a lot of ink, but I said, where are we? You know, it's, first of all, we're all bigger than money alone. If we're driven by money alone, we don't really have a great human experience. Why do we have these large discrepancies and what's wrong with the system? And rather me critique, oh, this is the way David Morgan sees the world and I can fix it, I use 3 other people that I have investigated that I think have very good thinking about possible solutions. So I brought them to my readership so that they could explore them further. And when we do the revised edition, I'm going to expand that chapter, and I probably will add a couple more what I consider deep thinkers on what I call the holistic story, or what it really means to be human and what we can do to work, let's say, with the planet and with others, rather than have this banker consortium that are basically dictating to us what, how the world's supposed to work.
Tell us where we can get the book.
Sure, Barry. You can get it on Amazon if you want the electronic version, but if you want the hard copy, it's a little difficult in Canada. What you can do is go to our web page, which is thesilvermanifesto.com, and there's instructions to how to buy the book as a Canadian. Many Canadians have bought the book. I actually have my secretary put it in a box and ship it to you.
Okay.
It's the only way. Unfortunately, Canada, Amazon.ca does not carry the book, nor will they stock it, and we have tried and tried. But anyway, that's that version. If you just want the electronic version or the audio version, those are easy downloads, and they can be achieved by just Googling the Silver Manifesto.
By looking at the size of that book, I think I'd like to have it sitting there on my shelf.
Yeah, it makes you look intelligent.
Yeah. Good. Well, thanks very much for coming by today, David.
Barry, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.